reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
Yes. Well, hello.
And welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. Friday afternoon. It is March the 15th.
Oh my God, where does the time go,
Where
y'all?
does the time go? I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I'm Janine Davis. Welcome to spending 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. with Janine and Jay on the Momentum Mindset Show.
Okay.
We get to shake our booties.
Okay, because I wasn't in the mood to shake my booty today.
Too bad, Jay. Tradition is tradition,
All right.
and you started it. So we're going to shake our booty to interrupt whatever is going on and shake up the energy.
Okay, just a little bit. All right.
All right. So how's everybody doing? We do want to remind people that this is an interactive show if you should choose. Jay and I love hearing the sound of our own voices.
We
Apparently,
do, but it's time. It's time for some participation,
and we hear.
It's
from
almost 3 months now. I think we've had 3 phone calls.
Yeah, so we know people are shy, or whatever the case may be, or you're driving, or this, that, and the other. But your participation is everything.
We're asking for your support. So if you can call us at 888-565-1470.
We would love to hear what's going on.
Love to hear what's going on with you. Because as checking in with us, and I'll just start with myself.
Because you are, after all, the expert in yourself, and I'm the expert in me, so it's all good. Go ahead.
Would you like to start?
No.
Are you sure?
Totally.
Does it mean you're speechless, or you just don't want to start?
Maybe a little bit of both. Go ahead, please. You've got the floor right now.
Do I?
Yeah.
Wow. We were just talking about, like, if you don't complain about something for a period of time, the law, believe it or not, would tell you that you might have
lost your chance.
Lost your chances.
Yeah.
There's something called the statute of limitations. There's something called waiver. There's even something called latches. It says
tell us a little bit more about latches. I think that most people don't know this. So this
latches.
People have heard of statute of limitations because, if you've watched a crime show, you know all about it.
If you haven't done something, if you don't complain about something, if you don't bring it up, if you don't clear the energy about what's going on with you, the law presumes that you don't care, or doesn't give you a remedy after a certain period of time. You know, and so and the same thing goes with me. If I'm not bringing something up, in time, where that goes? It's like you swallow that stuff.
You swallow that, and it can produce all kinds of illness or
lack
of well-being, dis-ease. Absolutely, and that shows up in many different ways. Okay. Yeah.
All right, but I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, so am I. We're both very frustrated.
Okay, so let's dive right in. I do want to talk about one of the overarching topic today. We want to talk about fuel, and not just the fuel that you put in your car. We want to talk about the fuel that gets you going and gets you motivated. And what I really want to talk about is how I've used pain as fuel.
Yeah.
And now when I got to a space that it doesn't hurt that much, when I say it doesn't hurt that much, it means that I'm not so much brokenhearted about certain things. Now, who am I?
Which, thank God, right? But now you lost your mojo,
kind
of.
So my last day of the 365 days of transformation was on Monday, and it was awesome how I got up and I was like, okay, this is a new year. I don't know what I'm going to do from here, but I'm so proud of myself for the year that I did spend, more or less getting up at 3:45 in the morning and then going after my life like no kidding. And then it hit me that okay, what am I up to? So I, of course, just was like, I'm going to do this again. I'm just going to go for another year.
Sure. Why not? I mean, it's actually a really good idea.
Because I have things left to do. I have mountains left to climb, and I'm going to go after this. Okay?
Right.
Now, great. I made the declaration. But here's the thing. I was so wrapped up in getting up at 3:45 in the morning because I was hurting. I had a chip on my shoulder. Let's call it like a chip on my shoulder, or the pain of what I was going through last year, and that got me out of bed because I didn't want to sit in the pain. Because if I'm busy, I'm good. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I think that most people who are suffering any kind of pain, or there are two speeds, right? There's either like curling up in the fetal position and doing absolutely nothing and going through the pain that way. And then there's the other kind of people, which is what you experienced, which was like, I'm so busy, I can't even feel my eyebrows.
Right.
Like it's going at such a warp speed. And that's another way to sort of anesthetize, right?
It's another way to disconnect.
Well, for sure. But and
I was so busy connecting, I was disconnecting.
Sure. Well, you were so busy doing, you were disconnecting.
I was so busy doing.
And it had the look of connection because it had the language of transformation.
But there was times I did sit in I definitely said, I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to feel what I'm feeling. I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling loss.
Right.
I'm feeling the loss of the relationship, the loss of my friend who committed suicide.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to, feel. Mm-hmm. And I did do that. I was able to just feel into, the uncomfortable,
the unease, the discomfort,
the abyss
of the emotions. Yeah.
And so this week, I was like, all right, I've spent a lot of time with that in October, November, December. And then I felt like I was getting better in January. Now, here's the thing. So I'm declaring this whole year. I start to try to get excited about doing different things like I was last year when I started transformation. And what I immediately ran into was like, wait a second, that's a year is a long time. And I had my mind was starting to play tricks on me, like immediately, like, well, you really don't feel that bad. So why are we getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning to do exercise?
Well, it's so interesting that you say that because when you live, and it's not just you, Jay Farrow, it's many people. It's been me at different points in my life for sure. But when you live to prove yourself or set out to prove something else, 10 times out of 10, once you achieve your goal, it's empty and you're just as lost as when you began.
That
because
makes sense.
What you built your momentum on, or what you built that entire thing on, was a house of cards. It wasn't really a foundation at all. So that's why when people get to the top, they're like, ooh, this is it, because they were doing it for all of the screwed up reasons that we all have. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's actually a really integral part of growth. But you take a walloping as a result. That's why people end their lives.
So what you're saying, the fuel is what? The fuel is achieving something that you think that you want, but you're doing it for reasons that
that really.
So you're doing it for something. All right, I want to run the Boston Marathon.
Okay.
Okay. Just saying. All right.
Okay.
Now,
so what would connect you to that? Is it to show an ex-girlfriend, an ex-wife, a former business partner that
four months ago
are bad to the bone
4 months
enough
ago,
to do
I would say
it?
yes. I would say it was the
Right,
ex-girlfriend.
right.
I would say it was like my parents.
So,
I would say
the
it
thing
was
is
like,
when you do that and you go past, you're in Boston and you're running and you get to that finish line, right? Guess what? Emptiness.
Emptiness. Okay. But I did it. Now, here's the distinction.
Is that ever enough, though? Because you were doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's or not the wrong reasons, but reasons that aren't really integral to who you are as a human being.
So, so here's the deal. If I did it, I went after it because for all these reasons. Mm-hmm. Like today, I don't care. I don't care if I run that race or not. Like, in other words, like, I don't have the same passion for it, for actually going out there and going after the goal. So what I'm really talking about here is the fuel, be it the ex-girlfriend, the parents, the person in the second grade that told you can't do it.
Yeah.
And now, okay, now you cleared all that stuff with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went through so much of work, journaling and reading and everything else that, seminars.
Right.
That I got better. I got better. My mind doesn't race like it did. But now, going and running the Boston Marathon.
Well, now you'd have to do it for you.
I'd have to do it for me.
For self-generating and actually connect to yourself, connect to your own desires, which, by the way, the whole time you were doing it for someone else, you had no connection to your own desires. You were just really doing it for someone else. It can look however it's going to look. And this is why some people have said, well, it doesn't matter why you do it. Yeah, it matters all day long why you do it. It's the difference between fulfillment and achievement. Two extremely different things.
So you're saying there's a distinction between, okay, let me get this, between fulfillment and achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. And achievement doesn't necessarily bring fulfillment. That's why you'll get people who are at the top of their game. They seemingly have everything. The beautiful wife, the millions in the bank, the friends, everything. And yet those people will either, they'll drive off a cliff. You'll see they went to rehab. Like something will happen. And no one on the outside can really get it in. But that is ultimately the biggest, I think the most outward production or depiction of achievement and fulfillment, and they're not the same thing. Because how can it be that someone who has so much feels so empty, so lost, and unfulfilled? It's because they're, by definition, not the same thing.
All right, let me tell you this. I'll be extremely vulnerable.
Please.
I am scared.
Okay.
For the first time in like a couple of years.
Okay. What are you scared about?
Because I have nobody left that it's important to do something for. I don't know what it feels like to do something for myself.
Right.
In other words, I've been able to use as fuel the chip on my shoulder. I've been able to use it as fuel injustice. Like the cases that I'm working on right now, like the people that are on the other side of these cases that I'm going after, that I've done the digging and I've gone after, who have, done X, Y, and Z to my clients. I got all kinds of fuel for them. I wrote about this like a little bit last night on Facebook, but I'm having fun in my office because I'm pissed.
Right, you're fired up about something else.
I want to get somebody. I want to get somebody on the other side. Okay?
Sure.
So let me tell you this. That fuel, though, okay, is where I'm starting to connect, because like all my energy right now is in my office.
Right.
All of my energy is now dedicated to now. I'm sourcing cases that on the other side they did so much.
I know. Keep them coming. I mean, they're lots and lots of fun. They're incredible cases.
And
they are about justice, which is ultimately why I think you even fell in love with the law to begin with.
It's the chip on my shoulder for injustice.
It's both. If you really listen, and I listen to you because I'm your friend, and I've been your friend for a long time, and I listen to you, and part of the reason you love the law is because it is a tool to get justice for people who have been wronged.
I said that I stand for people that don't have a voice in the law.
Okay.
That I connect with. Yes,
Okay.
I agree with you.
Okay, so believe it or not, you're not accustomed to it, but you think that that's still about other people. It's actually really about you. And it has nothing to do with your chip. It has to do with something that actually makes you tick. But you're not accustomed to seeing it that way. And that, therefore, you can't put it together. But from the outside looking in, I can totally see it.
Trying to say I'm scared. When I was in a couple of things. Let's just go with the gym, just doing the things that I'm doing.
Right.
I don't have the same drive. Haven't made a goal. Right. I haven't made a goal. And as far as running, long distance running, I have only done half of what I was able to do back in January when I had this fuel, when I had this driving me, this thing like I'll show her, or I'll show, like whatever that is, I'll show them. Let's call it, I'll show them.
The outside them, yes.
How do you like me now?
Yeah.
And so and on the other side of this break, we're going to continue talking about this whole thing about fulfillment, because I think you got me on thinking about something. So
okay.
We'll be back in a
Great.
second.
Thank you.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show.
That camera always sneaks up on me. I was like, whoa, yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
And speaking of that, I didn't know that Facebook went out. Is that true? Facebook was out?
Yeah, Don just told us Facebook went out. Listen, we've been working so hard. We don't know if it was in or out or what was going on. But yeah, WhatsApp and all of its products. That just goes to show nothing is bulletproof necessarily. But
Nothing is
Facebook went out.
Right.
That's incredible,
Isn't it, though?
right? So, but let's not go too far. What about the time where our bank, which is one of the largest banking institutions in the country and albeit the world,
Right.
went out? Wells Fargo couldn't post a transaction, take deposits, nothing. I mean, this is just kind of like a metaphor for, an extension of everything that we're talking about here, but it is, nothing is bulletproof. So there will be, I think, times where what you're speaking into, everyone feels a little lost sometimes.
No, scared.
Scared, lost.
Scared because I don't have it. Like, in other words, where I've been reaching for it before, where I felt that, like, okay, I don't, that spot that when you're going for whatever it is, I'm working in the office, or I'm going that extra mile, that little extra mile on the treadmill. Didn't have it. Didn't have it last Sunday. I didn't have it like this morning. I went like half of what I usually do. Mm-hmm. And
So what's the conversation? I'm curious. As a coach, I'm curious. So what's the conversation in your head when you're on the treadmill and you see that, instead of going 6 miles, you're really only going to go 3? What's the conversation?
I am asking myself why, and that's where it stops, because I don't have an answer.
Why what?
Why am I doing this?
Why are you doing what?
When am I exercising? When I'm doing this? When I'm going after like a thing, I'm on the treadmill for like half an hour, okay? Or if I'm okay, example, like if I was going to go, instead of going back to bed this morning after I got out of the gym and gone back to bed for an hour and a half, I went directly to the office, and I was thinking to myself, if I don't do this, I don't know, there was like some fear behind it. I'm just trying to say that I'm searching for that fuel. I'm searching for that auxiliary tank. I'm searching for that, that wherever I'm at, like, why am I, why?
Okay.
Because I don't have that fuel in my pocket anymore that I was using when I was going from.
Very interesting. So what does it tell you about your original fuel source?
It worked.
No. Do you know what it tells me when I hear about that? I hear that it was absolute BS, and for lack of a better, more passionate term.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No. And it tells me that fuel source is completely, always unreliable. That it's not even real. That it's not an actual thing.
I'm not disagreeing with that
and
either.
it's not a bad or wrong conversation, but it's an interesting
I'm not
conversation
disagreeing
to
with
have.
anything that you're saying.
No, and I'm not saying that you are disagreeing with me. What I am saying, though, is that you're now tasked to do the actual work that you set out to do a year ago or 2 years ago, which was actually find your real why, which by accident, in many ways, you've come close to and bumped up against and decided to use your original fuel source instead. Every time you maybe got a chance and it was like right in your face, instead of going there, you went back to your original fuel source. But of course, because believe it or not, that's what is familiar. And it's not only you, Jay Farrow. When I speak to you, I speak to me.
Right.
There's never any separation in that. This is how we function. And so what's interesting about what's coming up now is that all of your safety nets are gone. Like your pain fuel, that it's not there. So now you've actually got to really do the work of self-generating. This is really what transformation is.
Yeah, for the last couple of months, I have not had a pain source of fuel. In other words, like all those conversations about not being worthy because someone told me that, or I wasn't enough because she left, or whatever, you know, all that's gone, you know? And so now it's like, no, I'm
no, it's true. But the irony is, you miss it.
I miss it.
Yep.
It's intoxicating to have something to give you the chip on your shoulder.
Right.
This is what I'm experiencing right now.
I get it.
It's like, okay, now I'm left with, okay, well, I'm not going to say it like this because it's not like this. I was going to say, where's the chaos? Because there's plenty of that.
Oh, there's plenty of that. Please don't ask for more. We can't.
No, okay. Now, I want to give you another distinction. There's plenty of pain right now. There's plenty of pain in my life. I mean, pain. And I'm talking about the kind of stuff that, like, you know, it's like wants to keep me in bed, but it's because of the thoughts of the stuff not showing up the way that I thought the things were going to show up in my business. I can't believe the audacity and the obnoxious, the ego that I've been seeing on the other side of things. Maybe that's shocking. A mirror or not. I'm not even going there right now.
Right.
But I'm talking about the pain that I'm in. Here's the question that comes up. Why? I mean, I see regular people. When I say regular people, they get in their cars. I see them. They exist. They get up at, let's say, 7 o'clock. They get in their car. They go to work by 9. They check out by 5. They do their thing. They go home. They get a paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what. Okay? And I don't know what their conversations are, but they know how much money they can spend. They get their 2 weeks of vacation every single year. Okay? They get their 2.2 kids and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I say to myself now in this space, what is wrong with me that life is not okay with me? What is wrong with me that I choose by choice to not know, just to go after all of this stuff, to completely just every single day, it seems like, reinvent the wheel. Literally, like, reinvent the wheel. What drives, like, and so that's why I used to have an answer for that. I used to have an answer is because they told me that I couldn't, or I wasn't enough for that person. Well, let me show you that I'm enough. Let me go. Yeah. I'll do that, and I'll do it doing a handstand, and I'll do it, you know, without eating for 2 weeks. I'll do it.
Right.
But now, where's that fuel? And now that I don't have the fuel, I'm like, what's wrong with the life that I was that I was saying? I don't want that. I don't want that 9 to 5 stuff. That's this. That's ridiculous. Now look at them like, wait a second. I see people go and they're talked about going to the movies, and I was like, oh, that sounds nice. It sounds really good. Maybe get some popcorn, and they were talking about just the little bits of excitement that they have in their life. And it was like, wait a second. And then something else came and said, no, that's not for you. But okay, so when I go back to saying I'm scared, I'm like really scared because I've been having like these thoughts of what's this all about? What's this sucks. I mean, it's like this. It's this consistent. Like, if I'm going to do this day in and day out, when are the things going to show up? And mind you, I know I call myself spoiled, whatever, but I'm just really hurting right now.
I get it. I'm
hurting because I know that I've dug in looking for that fuel and it wasn't there. Why? Because when I walked out of the house the other day on Monday, and I just did that year of waking up that early and going after my life and journaling and reading and transforming my business and everything, I was like, you know what? I just proved to myself that I could do it, and those people, they can go fry ice. I have nothing left to say or prove to anybody else because I just did that. And it was a great feeling. And then I'm like, okay. And when I went back and I got to the gym, I was like, wait a second. What am I doing this for? Why?
Again, this is where the work really starts. When we coach people or when we have people in our office or when we're around other people, we constantly task them to create the why. And that is a really difficult thing when it's not extremely obvious. Like, for example, a birth of a child. So then now you have your child to live for, or this, or whatever the case may be. When you have to self-generate and you get to create and give meaning and purpose to your own life, and again, differentiate between achievement and fulfillment, this is where the real work starts. That's what transformation really is. It's not just doing. This is where the be, do, have comes into play. That's where all of the tools and the reading or whatever comes into play, because this is when you need it the most. And again, not you, just Jay Farrow, but you, anybody who's listening, myself included, sometimes when I can't find the reason for X, Y, or Z. These are conversations that I think are really important to have, because we all go through them. And trust me, the guy at the top that has decision fatigue, and everything, he feels like the world is on his shoulders, even though he has the world in his palm, he also questions. It's part of who we are. It's part of growth. It's part of what's next. And I think it's also really important to acknowledge that it's scary, right? Because you feel like you don't have your footing. But from this space, you get to actually choose and create from a place that's the digging deep, where you've never gone before. Place you can't even imagine. Someplace so unfamiliar you don't even think it's there.
Every breath I take is filled with this level of, oh my God, as if I'm walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea.
Right, because your whole life, since you were a little kid, was, I'll show you. I've got this chip on my shoulder. It's my superpower. Don't tell me. I will do. So, of course, it's an adjustment. It's a huge adjustment period. When you've healed that, or you're in process of healing that, and you're letting go your biggest crutch, how do you think you're going to walk straight for a while? I mean, think about it.
No, it's what hurt was how much power I gave other people.
Yes.
Because if I had this chip on my shoulder, if I'm proving something for somebody else, that means I'm giving power to them.
100%.
Okay, so basically the power, that fuel that I had, was just me drinking poison to kill somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, I'll say that again because I like that. Me drinking poison to kill somebody else.
Right. So...
And they don't even care. It's like, that's the thing.
But that's why you and everybody else who has ever gone down that path feels wholly unfulfilled and so empty. Because the success that you gain, or the check mark that you achieve to show them, is so empty. That's why, Jay, as my friend, and and you and I have had this discussion many times, that's why it always bothered me. Your reasons for certain things have always troubled me.
My stories.
Yeah, because I knew where it could go. Because I've seen it before, I've done it myself. I already knew where that tail ends. And if you look at any story of success that's gone sideways or awry or ended in suicide or a double murder, God forbid, like anything tragic, it's always because of that. And one of the things that we learned when we went to the...
What are you saying when you say that? You're talking about that someone did it for somebody else?
Yeah, external reasons. No connection to self. No self-love. No generating from because even the people who are achieving wealth because they were poor when they were little, and they'll never do that, they also have that conversation. And so you are constantly drinking from that. Your source is constantly toxic.
I'll tell you this, there's not enough to fill that hole.
Right, which is why it's empty.
I say I want more life. That was like my thing. Like, let's go after more life. But there's not enough more that I could fill that hole of when I'm in the context of proving myself to somebody else.
Of course. It's an endless well. And by the way, you were always counting on that endless well to fuel you until something shifted inside of you that said, no, we're not doing that.
I want to get on the other side of this break about that thing about the crutch, about using that crutch, because I think that you're onto something. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And we're back.
And we are back. So as you guys know, our shows...
And who are we?
And who are we? That's a good question. I am Janine Davis, and you are...
Jay Farrow.
Welcome back, guys. And if you're just tuning in, we are having a really...
awesome conversation.
Conversation, and this is real, people. Like, for people who think that it's stage, I don't know what people think, and really, you know, we'd love your feedback, of course, but we bring you our hearts and minds every Friday.
Our goal every week is to go through what we go through. I mean, to go after life to the extent that we are going after goals and create momentum in our life. And then every single week, I mean, we celebrate the wins, we celebrate the punches in the stomach. And lately, there's been more of the punches in the stomach.
Yeah,
but it's real. We're talking about this show a little bit this week and making a commitment to spend more time in some of the topics. Today, we picked the fuel, but we're looking to be more mindful. Because what I would think okay, part of this, when we're talking about fuel, we're talking about where I've been in the last week, about not having that fuel of wanting to prove something to somebody else.
Yeah.
Wanting to feel like I'm enough through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
And that when that went away, looking for when I'm like, this week I'm in the gym, like I don't have it. I don't know where it went. I don't, because I feel better. I'm like, okay, I healed myself.
Right.
And it's like, oh my God. There's a funny scene that I saw in Monty Python. It was called The Life of Brian. And there's
tell us about that.
Okay, so it's a long story, so you'd have to see the whole thing. But this is one beggar scene, okay? And okay, Life of Brian is about the life of Brian, who's also there's Jesus is around during where Brian is.
Okay, so it's a period piece.
It's a period piece, and there's this one
Monty
part.
Python says it all.
This is the one part. And this is where I'm at. I think it's a perfect analogy. Perfect analogy. Okay. All right. So this guy Brian, he's walking through this town, and the beggars are coming up to him. You know, and it's like alms for a leper. You know, alms for a leper. And this one guy comes up and he's listen. Wait. He's skipping along. He's like alms for an ex-leper.
Alms for an ex-leper?
Yeah. And so Brian says, did you say ex-leper? He said, yes. He's like, well, you know, what happened? He's like, cured. He's like, well, who cured you? He's like, well, Jesus did, sir. He's like, you know, one day I'm a leper with a trade, and the next day I'm broke, you know?
Oh, my God.
So Brian passes all the other lepers, you know, the people that he gives money to this guy. And the guy complains about it. But here's the thing. It's like, this is the same thing in a similar way. It's like I was using my conversations about, you know, I was sick to a certain extent about the way that I was using my not enough conversations, unworthy conversations, to get up at 3:45 in the morning, to go to my office, to transform my entire life. And then in January, something magical happens, you know, where I did enough work, or I felt better. Like I felt like all the conversations, the noise went from 100 down to 15. And all of a sudden I'm like, now, okay, where's my drive to go into the gym? Right. Where's my drive?
Well, because who are you?
Who am I without the pain?
Right. Your identity as you knew yourself was suddenly in question. Because who are you without the pain? If that was your crutch for 40-something odd years, who are you without the crutch?
Who am I? Like, even the way that I speak, my conversations about blaming, shaming, right and wrong were developed through this years of practice of, I'm going to show them, or, you know, don't tell me that I can't do it.
Right.
I'm tall enough to go on this ride.
Right.
Believe me.
Right. Sure. And Jay, I think, again, one of the reasons that I'm so excited and sort of passionate about this particular topic is because I think that 90 something percent of all humanity lives under the auspices of some version of that.
What, fuel, like as far as the I'll prove you wrong? I think
Yeah.
other types of fuel is like fear.
Sure. You know, but it feeds our identity.
All right, my identity was this young kid who got you know whatever he got when I was younger, and then I'm going to show you, you know, you can't mess with me.
Right.
You don't mess with me, and I'll never be enough for you, but don't mess with me.
Right. So it's that.
I love that dichotomy too.
That's,
like, you know,
that duality is really fun.
I'm not worth it, but let me show you how worth it I am.
Exactly.
Which I'll never be. It's like this thing.
Yeah. So, but of course you feel lost, and of course it's scary. It's that, again, you don't even know how you're going to walk without that crutch yet. And again, this is why I say this is the work, and this is why we talk a lot about faith. I don't necessarily have the same conversations. I've been through, you know, I'll share with you all, I have been through the deaths of people. I was divorced, and subsequently my ex-husband died. I've lost loves. I've lost all kinds of different things in my life. And I would say the greatest distinction between the both of us is that there's no doubt in my mind when any of these things have happened that I will absolutely, I may go down for a while, like I'll be sad or, you know, whatever, but there's no question that I just don't stay down. There's something inside of me that is so self-generative that I don't. Even though I'm not, you know, by all benchmarks, I haven't hit most of my achievements or this, that, or the other. But who I am internally in terms of like strength about certain things, you can't like, it's not that I'm bulletproof. I'm certainly not, because there's always, you know, next level. But the end of my marriage doesn't define me as a person. The fact that it didn't work, yeah, there was a period of shame and all of the, that doesn't define me at all. You know, like I don't allow certain things because also I have a faith that I don't live necessarily to prove myself to other people. And whenever I have, and I've achieved based on that, it's such a gross, like I've never been satisfied.
But I don't even like I don't even like the feeling that, wow, you know, if I was able to have discipline, that discipline was not born of, I'm doing this for me, and I'm gonna do X,
right,
Y.
Because it never has occurred to you. It's such a foreign concept. It's such a foreign concept that you won't even allow it into your being. You can't even accept it as a reality because you're so devoid from it. Listen, we all have that conversation. I also, for many years, I was the daughter, the sister, the wife, the girlfriend, the this, the that. It took me a long time to ever have any sort of continuity, and I'm still working on it. I'm not telling you I'm not. But my point is, I was never so into other, like breaking up with someone was never going to break me, no matter how heartbroken I was. It just wasn't. And of course I had to learn that. I have an ego too. I have a heart. I have all kinds of different things. But there's that thing inside of me that always has that sense. And again, it's a faith. It's a connection that has always allowed me to keep going and to always keep dreaming and seeing and bigging and keep going. You know, even when I have gotten lost off of my track, even when I wasn't doing things or I was keeping company that I shouldn't have or whatever, I always somehow got back to center. Because and I think most of it has to do with my faith. I believe that I was born on purpose with a purpose.
But is faith fuel?
To me it is. To me it is, because Jay, as you and I both know, we go through certain things, and again, being an entrepreneur and business owners or whatever, this decision fatigue, the constant cash crunch, the like things that would make most people buckle. That faith, that knowledge,
and I'm not just tuning our own horns. I'm saying like this, and this is straight up. 1 out of 100,000, maybe 1 out of 1 million.
For sure.
Maybe
For
one out
sure.
of a million that,
For sure.
that would.
And anyone who knows me knows that I do not toot my own horn. But I'm telling you right now,
No, as far
one
as
in a
as
million.
far as the,
Absolutely
as far
one in
as
a
going
million.
through it, cash crunch, not knowing where it comes from, doing figuring out marketing for yourself, and what I've now come to know, and I had this conversation at lunch today, is you go to all these seminars about business,
yeah,
all these seminars about money,
Yeah.
money management,
yeah,
all this. I'll give you $1 million of business acumen in 5 days. There is no prosthetic for going through this process
None.
of trial and error. Of,
baptism by fire.
of there's no plug and play in business. There's no wow. There's unless you get the muscle memory of what we're going through and are willing to put yourself through that.
yeah,
There's no a seminar doesn't give you that.
no,
If you're willing to put yourself through all of the hurt and this hurts.
and yes, the hurt, the self doubt, the whatever, and that's why I say, my self generative thing is always latching on to again the faith, and I was created on purpose with purpose. I will not exit until my drive comes from. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm not taking my last bow until I have lived out my purpose.
You know what?
This is what drives
I
me.
thought that I thought about though. It's like this. I don't see a penitentiary, a holding area, a island that they take and they put failures.
No.
You don't
What do you
see,
mean?
you don't in other words
No.
like basically there's no crime for failing.
There's absolutely no crime for
In other
failing.
words, you can so no matter what ends up happening, no matter what ends up happening, I don't see anybody saying like failure, homeless. I don't see any signs like that. I see signs like
Right.
I will work for food.
Right. But then again, like when you talk about all of those failures and the homeless or whatever, those are all again external things.
No, what I'm saying is that all the conversations of what's going to happen if I don't or if this doesn't work out,
Right.
The ultimate failure is giving up.
Absolutely. And that's why my tagline is keep on going, because the only times I've ever felt like a failure in my life are when I didn't try and when I gave up.
And so here's where I was not just scared, but I was really hurt. On Sunday is when I gave up.
Okay.
When I was on the treadmill and I was like, okay, I'm going to run for an hour. This is my last day of the year. I'm going to cap it off with this.
Right.
And I ran for half an hour. And all of this stuff I talk about the gym, and I want to make this very, very clear. It's symbolic to everything else that I do, but I think that it's just in such a way that it's someone can visualize it and kind of understand it. Because I had a goal and I did 50%, and my body told me I can't do no more. My lungs wanted to explode, and I was like, okay, that's it, And then and all of this stuff came up in my mind. Well, you did 50%, which is more than you've ever done before, and all. I didn't want to hear none
You
of
try
that.
to statistic yourself into feeling better.
I didn't have it.
Right.
I didn't have it, and then that to me was like because I gave up, and it was like, how does this happen? Where I went through all this year, and I'm just
So, but let's think of nature, right? So, nature, like trees shed their leaves. Does it make it less of a tree because it shed its leaf? Like you could say, like, ugh, if that tree is ugly, it's not as beautiful as it is in bloom. But what are we sure of? Even when it loses all its trees, it grows back trees. So the same thing is failure in any given moment or giving up in any given moment. It's only really a failure, and you only really gave up if the next day you don't do it, and the next day you don't do it, and the next day you don't do it. That moment is as pinnacle as you decide it is. In other words, like, there's a difference between giving up in that moment. And I get what you're saying, and I'm not excusing it. You should have gone the hour, period. Like, you should have dug deep or whatever. You absolutely, even just to make yourself feel better, which, by the way, is the best reason in the world, because you are your own hero. So it is your obligation to always show up in the best way for you, right? So, but hear what I'm saying.
But it's also it was the feeling though for the very first time. Is like, where is that fuel? That's what I'm saying. More than I quit. It's not that I quit on the run, but I also it was also the self recognition is like, where is that?
Right.
And we can finish this on the other side of this break.
Yeah.
But this is the most.
Because I really want to say something really juicy about that.
This is the important part of the whole conversation. So we'll be right back.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back.
Welcome
for the
back,
last segment
everybody.
Of the Momentum Mindset Show.
Yes.
Okay, I have before we get into it, I have a confession.
Do tell.
Okay, the beard.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was it all about? I said so many stories about why I'm growing a beard. Okay, I was like, okay, I have this big case and I'm gonna like settle, and then it's like, Super Bowl, and then I wanted to look scary.
Yeah.
And then as I was going into, and I was wearing this beard for a while, I felt like I was more comfortable in public. Yeah.
Whoa, what is that about?
Because I felt like I was hiding. When I was actually driving down the street, I had my sunglasses on and I had my beard. I felt like I was a completely different person, and I felt comfortable in my own skin. And I was.
That's interesting.
This all happens almost at the same time, with like the years coming to the end, and I restart this.
Yeah.
But I was gonna shave the last day, and then when I didn't make that, that goal on the treadmill. Listen, this thing about fuel has really got me this week.
Yeah, so I'm so excited though, because I want to tell you something. You were reaching for something that is outside of you. Always. That was your go-to. That's all you've ever really known how to do. So now what's exciting is where you're going to reach for when it really counts. Because all of those external things, they're all smoke and mirrors anyway. All smoke and mirrors.
Right.
And that's why ultimately it's a futile fuel source. It runs out for everybody, not just you. Absolutely everybody.
You're talking about using, I'm going to get them, or,
or I'm going to get her back, or look at me now. How do you like me now?
How do you like me now?
Whatever. Who cares? Guess what? You said something really accurate. Who cares?
They don't.
They don't. That's the funniest thing. And not only do they not care, they're getting on with their own lives, generating from themselves,
right,
or not. Either way, they're moving on, and so should you. That's the point. So now your moving on is looking inside and really, really getting to the juicy, yummy, like, oh my God, I'm actually, you know what? This is your first year of transformation. I am totally like challenging right here, right now.
Right.
Because this is, to me, where the real work starts. What say you, Jay Farrow?
So last night, I went and bought my new journal.
Okay.
And I wrote my first real post last night, and that was the start of like getting myself back into the swing of things. Mm-hmm. I got up at 4:30 this morning, which, by the way, I still consider to be 3:30 in the morning.
Because of the time
because
change?
I'm just telling you, this whole time change thing,
oh my God,
doesn't work for me. So
let me tell you something.
I've been writing some very strongly worded letters to our congressmen and others, because whatever just happened doesn't need to happen again.
I have to tell you guys, I've been really lucky, and part of my growing up was all over the world, kind of. And I remember literally when you travel to and from Asia, depending on which way you're going, you lose an actual day. Okay, you leave on a Tuesday and you arrive on a Thursday. None of that
travel has ever screwed me up like losing that 1 hour with daylight savings time. I have not been able to catch up on my sleep all week.
So
It's bizarre.
Well, I got up.
Okay.
I did go. I
At 3:30.
At 3:30.
Technically.
I got to the gym, and I got to work early, and I was like, all right, let's just do it, because discipline is not something that you just get. It's something that you practice.
Absolutely. Every single day, in fact.
Every move that you make is discipline.
Right.
Now, I also recognize that I am not 100% ready to commit to my a diet plan. I have all kinds of reasons for that right now, because
You're hungry.
It's Friday.
Well,
but that said, what I've done though, and this is what I've done for the listeners, is say, okay, I'm not going from 0 to 100 like I did last year. I mean, I went from like 0 to 20 today, and then tomorrow be to 40. In other words, I'm being compassionate with myself as I'm searching for the fuel.
Your fuel.
To make sure that I'm not picking my next I'm going to get you back, or or look at me now, or
your next fake fuel.
Right, my next fake fuel. Because I have a feeling that all of this is going to support me as I go into the world looking, for abundance, love, relationship.
Receiving, absolutely. It primes you to really receive.
But that's the question of the week. Who am I, or who are you without the pain? Everybody has their thing that drives them forward. A lot of
right.
it's like,
please,
hey,
people, I want you to know that this is not exclusive to Jay Farrow. When we talk about these things,
we're talking
about absolutely everybody, and it's only ever a question of degrees. And I think that for the person who may be listening, thinking, well, I don't even know what they're talking about, check in, because even though Jay and I disagree, and I may have a different fuel source from him or whatever, we experience a lot of the same things. And even with my extremely high pay grade God fuel source and all that stuff, I also get lost. The distinction is I don't stay lost. The distinction is I don't stay down. I refuse. There's something inside of me that just absolutely refuses, and I'm so thankful for that. But I also get to generate from my own fuel source. This is a task that we all have.
So the other things that I'm just thinking about, using as fuel. When it's 10 o'clock at night and you're at the office, and it's like, what is it going to keep you there till 10:30 if you're trying to get something out the door?
Yeah.
If there's something else that you're doing, like even doing laundry, all of those things, am I willing to take one more step towards this? If the answer is yes, take the step. And this one more step thing has been supportive of me in the last couple of days, because I know that I can take one more step towards it. And that one more step fuel is something that I've used. Thinking about a positive thing in my life that I've accomplished before, it's helped me to in certain circumstances.
Sure.
Even like things of me being in the hospital, like where I got.
Well, David Goggins talks about that.
Right.
It's the cookie jar.
The cookie jar.
The cookie jar of, oh my God, I am capable of so much more than I ever thought.
But I recognize now that the fuel that I was using as motivation, as drive, as whatever, I'm not going to use the word passion, but I'd say drive. That runs out. If you're using stuff to prove something to other people as fuel, that's the stuff that just doesn't. That right now it ran out as I got better, and that's.
You said something so profound, which is that you are drinking from a poison cup, trying to get better, but you're still drinking poison.
Right. If I'm using it as my fuel to do the things in my life that I'm doing, I'm right.
Right.
And that's just going to filter into every part of my life.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. I felt like I however it came to pass, that noise in my head was down, and I celebrated for a while. And then I realized how important all of those noises in my head were to achieve the things that I've achieved in my life thus far. But the achievements, like you said, I mean, those achievements didn't fulfill me.
No.
Because
and they didn't make you happy.
Right.
They certainly didn't make you happy. And you can't fake that. You cannot fake it. You can have like a moment on top and be like, oh, yeah. But you can't, it doesn't sustain you.
Okay, so this
Not
week,
really.
This week, we're going to commit to putting topics out onto our Facebook page.
Yes, please write into our page. Give us your feedback. What would you like to hear? What would you like to
any
talk
questions
about?
you have, and then we're gonna start this, and we're gonna be committed to being on the Facebook.
Yes.
And hearing what you have to say, because we're going to make this an interactive show. The last couple of months, we've said that this is going to be the safe space for talking about how do you create momentum, how do you go after your goals, how do you create the life that you want, starting with the life that you have.
Exactly.
Okay. Now we're talking today about fuel, like, what gets you out of bed and why are you doing what you're doing. And that we got to this point about if you're doing it for somebody else, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, I mean, and you're not doing it for you, check in, because eventually that fuel would run out one day. Proving something to somebody else who doesn't even care about you anymore, it's not.
And even if they did, let's say
So
you were
what?
doing it, you're doing it for your kid even. You know what? Your kid has their own life and dreams.
Right.
It's beautiful to use sometimes as inspiration,
Right.
right? But there's a big distinction on fulfillment.
So look forward to seeing you on Facebook.
We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you for joining us.
Anybody who's been listening, and we love to hear you and interact with you.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.